about the tour, and then we will open for the questions.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. First and foremost, I just think it's really important that I reiterate how proud I am of the cricket team that went and played. We're 4.5 months away on the road. 4.5 months away is a hell of a long time, and the intensity and the passion that these guys trained with in their last training session on Tuesday afternoon to the intensity that they trained with in their first training session on September the 13th in Asia has been fantastic. So I'm very, very proud of the players, very proud of the development of a lot of our younger players. I think key for us is going forward, we have a lot of work to do with our test team, and I think that's something that we know and that's something that we understand. I don't think there's any coincidence that no Asian team has not won a test series in South Africa before. So we know we've got a lot of work to do with our test side. I think our white ball team is in pretty good shape. And I look at where our white ball team was 2 years ago as to where it is now. Certainly in terms of role clarity, in terms of skill sets that's required to win in all conditions, I think we started to make proper tracks there. So I was really disappointed, as were the boys. We were gutted that we didn't get over the line and win the one-day series. We thought we were as good as South Africa in most conditions. And I think, unfortunately, the 2020 series, I think, if we were neutral, and you were just watching, there was some unbelievable cricket played there over those 3 games. And to lose it 2-1 was galling. But in terms of the quality of cricket and the development of our younger players, particularly in those foreign conditions, has been amazing. I think South Africa is the toughest place to bat. And to get a man of the series in ODI cricket, to see Baba Azam's development across all formats on this tour was simply amazing, and I think was something to behold. So I sit here, although we didn't get the results, I sit here incredibly proud of our efforts in South Africa. Talking to the South African press, talking to the South African public, they were immensely impressed with the standard of cricket that our guys played over the last 2 months in South Africa. Which I think is testimony to A, the work rate of these boys, B, the skill sets, and C, the determination to keep getting better and better.
Vicky, you have been building up for the World Cup for over a year and a half now. It seems like you know you're going to put up new players, but PSL is coming up, and I'm not sure if you are going to resist the temptation of PSL or you're going to stick with the players you have.
That's a very good question. Inzi and I have been on the same page for a long while here. And I'm going to be honest, because I told the boys in the dressing room the same thing the other night. I think we've probably got 19 players for 15 positions at the moment. Inzi and I are of exactly the same opinion that during the Australian series after the PSL always throws up one or two good individual performers. So we'll have a look at some of our borderline players, the guys that we're not sure about. We'll have a look at them during the Australian series, and then we'll make our mind up leading into England. Obviously, we'll be taking that 15. So we're very close, and I think the key is that players get clarity in terms of their roles, and role clarity is particularly important. The other thing that's important for us is having an option with 2 game plans. And I say 2 game plans because the weather in England at any given time is very unpredictable. So we need an option where we have our spinners who are able to suffocate through the middle, because the key for us to win one-day games is about taking wickets through that middle. Either we do that with 2 spinners and a little bit of reverse swing if the weather stays dry, or if the weather's wet over that period of time, we have to have an option of a seam bowling all-rounder who can come in, bat 7 for us, be the 4th seamer, and give us that option. So we're very close. We've covered all bases in terms of our personnel at the moment.
Mickey, you have expressed upon the role clarity, but there seems, when it comes to Sarfraz, there is some conundrum over there. We see him floating in the middle order. There is no set position for him. Previously, we have seen that whenever he has batted up the order, he has been successful, but throughout this tour we have seen him demote himself. What is going on there? I want to understand the thought process.
It's very simple. You know, we need to be very fluid, and we're very fluid with our game plans. Software has done exceptional work for us up and down the order. I think the thing that we've got to realise though is over a long tour, form comes and goes, and players start playing well, and then they slip off the radar for a little bit. And we need to then be able to send our form players in at any given minute. So for every role that we have, you would have seen we tried a couple of things in the 2020. We had to look at some key areas with some players. Some players played well through that period, some players didn't. But we had to have a look and give those players the opportunity to prove to us that A, they could do it, or B, they couldn't do it. Now, you know, in terms of fluidity in our batting order, it's whoever's informed and what that situation demands at that particular time. And I think you'll see that all the best teams in the world have the ability to be flexible. We try to be as flexible as we can. And there's also the other thing with that is opportunity, because if we didn't give the opportunity to players in those positions, we wouldn't know about them. And the last thing we want is to get to a crunch game in a knockout phase of a tournament, and we're sending in a guy that we don't know anything about, and it would be gross mismanagement on Starfry's and my part if we haven't given that guy the opportunity to perform in that area under pressure. And under pressure is the key. You can do it at any given time, in a practice session or in a centre wicket, but when there's a game on the line, there's 20,000 people in the stadium, there's a massive TV audience, you can't recreate that pressure through training. We have to find out about those guys, and that's kind of what we did. We know Safi can deliver at any position in the batting order. We needed to find out a little bit more about the other players.
And Mickey, I have two questions. First is that if you are consulted by the PCB when you decided to call back Sarfraz from South Africa after the racism incident, and because that decision has shaken the confidence of Sarfraz that if he was in trouble, that he may not get back the captaincy. And second, in a recent interview, you have said that domestic cricket sector of Pakistan is weak. But I think in last 2 years, you see a very good number of cricketers, even match winners, Shadab, and so how do you get these kind of talent?
All right, let me deal with the first question first. I was kept very much in the loop by the PCB. Sarfraz, what he did was wrong, and it was worked through. We spoke it through as a team. We educated the team through that process. Safi took it on the chin. He apologised. He moved forward. Everything was handled properly. He was sanctioned by the RCC, and that's an issue between the PCB and the RCC. I can't answer that. But he was sanctioned, and he's been punished. He's apologised, so we can move forward from that. I was kept very much in the loop. The insecurities around Safi has been put to bed now, and we've got clarity on that. I was part of that conversation with the chairman as well. He consulted me, as he did Inzimam and a couple of other role players. We have made that decision because we are very comfortable with Sarfraz leading this team forward. So there's clarity, there's no more speculation. We know who's going to lead the team. Around domestic cricket, I just look at players that arrive in our setup. And this is no slight on anybody. This is an education process that we need to go through. I know the chairman and the new CEO at the moment are working thoroughly to have a look at what a really good domestic structure is for Pakistan. Now, I'm not for 1 minute degrading the domestic structure. Is the domestic structure way too big? In my opinion, it is. I think we need to come back to strength first strength. Is the conditions that the players are playing in domestic cricket, do they replicate first-class test cricket or international cricket? I'm not sure they do. Those are questions that we need to be answered, and the structure will be taken forward later.
Mickey, you are giving exclusive that Pakistan cricket is playing too many cricket. But on the other hand, we see...
It's not excuses, that's just fact.
In
Indian team is playing too many cricket than Pakistan, and we are making history in the Australian team and between Australian team and other top ranked teams in the world. But you admit there is something missing in your planning and selection process. Then my second question is, will you continue after World Cup?
Look, let me just answer that. We've played the most cricket over the last 4.5 months of any team in the world. And that's not an excuse. I'm not using it as an excuse because that's the way it is. And we've got to handle that. India have a large pool of players available to them, and they rotate their players very, very well. We didn't rotate our players as much because we were on a process with our young players. We need to educate them in all conditions. So that's exactly that's the decision we made. The second part of your question was around planning. Our planning's done. We've got our schedules. We've got everything in place leading up to the World Cup. Myself, Inzamam, and Safraz have been completely united in the process that we want going forward. We've been united in the playing group that we've identified. And as I said, there's 20 players for maybe 15 places at the moment, but we united, we as one in terms of that identification process. So I think our planning is probably as good as it possibly could be for this staff. And in fact, I'd say, having a look at and speaking to the South African coaches, I'd say we're probably ahead of a lot of other teams. I think a lot of other teams are getting to their best 15 in the next couple of months. But they've got a bigger pool of players at the moment from which to choose. We've condensed our pool primarily to give them more exposure to pressure situations, and now we've just got to make our decisions during the Australian tour and then finalise that for the England tour. So I think in terms of our planning, we're pretty well on track.
Will you continue after World Cup?
That's up to the PCB. As I say, I'd love to, but that's a separate discussion, and that's a discussion that we'll have to have at some stage. But I think there's a lot of work to do still with our test team, and I'd like to complete that.
Coach, how challenging for you to work with out of form captain?
This is a question that I keep answering all the time. Understand that Safraz first and foremost is a captain and wicketkeeper. People forget wicketkeeping is a specialist position. Safraz's numbers over the last 4.5 months are mind-blowing. Mind-blowing. 1 catch dropped, 1 stumping missed. I can tell you because I did the research coming back on the plane last night because I thought I might get this question. He dropped, and I'm saying dropped, when the balls come through to the keeper because we mark everything. He's dropped 8 balls in 4.5 months. So he's not out of form in his core job. His core job is to keep wicket and to take the catches and make the stumpings. And he did that when we didn't get too much spin bowling in South Africa. But he's done a job over 4.5 months in that role. Safraz will be the first to admit his batting form's come and gone. We've worked exceptionally hard on Safraz's batting going forward. Exceptionally hard on his batting. He is very, very determined to get that right because he plays match-winning innings. When Safraz plays well, he wins games for us. I'm not, and I want to reiterate this, I am not worried about Safraz Ahmed's form. Safraz Ahmed is a very, very good cricketer. And just Safraz and I work incredibly close together. Incredibly close. We've got a very close working relationship, as good as any working relationship I've had with any captain. And I just need that to be put to bed right now.
Mickey, you're not worried about Sarfraz, but what's about Mohammad Amir? Since Champions Trophy, his form is not at the par, and as head coach of Pakistan team, what do you expect from Mohammad Amir, and do you believe that he's still the best for Pakistan squad?
Look, I've always said, and Mohammad Amir will be the first one to tell you that his stats haven't been good through one-day cricket. I mean, he's very aware of it, as are we. I still think Mohammad Amir is an incredibly skilled bowler. I think Mohammad Amir has the ability to win games of cricket for Pakistan. When the ball swings, there's no better bowler. Yes, the ball hasn't swung for a bit, and that's something that we're working incredibly hard on. Is it his wrist? Is there something in his action? We identified him. He was decelerating a little bit into the crease. We've worked on all that with Mohamed Amir. Mohamed Amir is still incredibly skilled. Mohamed Amir still has big match temperament. And when the games are on the line, and this is how I judge a player, when the games are on the line, he wants the ball. He wants the ball in the pressure situation. And that's good enough for me at any stage, because I see so many players across all countries in the world, when the game's on the line, they don't want it. Mohamed Amir wants it. He wants it. He's got that attitude. And I was so happy to see him bowl, particularly one of the last 2 nights ago in Centurion. His skill level came to the fore. He executed his Yorkers beautifully. And when the ball reverses, he gets a little bit of reverse as well. So, stats, not great. We know that. But sometimes you have a gut feel about a player. When the big moment presents itself, I'm comfortable that he will deliver. Morning.
We all know you are very professional and you are very loyal with your job. But when you raise the whole batting question in front of your senior guys, and that guys to that chit chat lead to media, is it concerned about you? You are concerned about this?
Yeah, look, what's said in the dressing room stays in the dressing room. I'm very straightforward as a coach, and the players know that. I'm honest, I'm open, I wear my heart on my sleeve. That creates, for me, an environment where there's a lot of trust. Yes, I'm pretty emotional at times. And at that particular moment, I did have a conversation with our senior players. But that was a positive, constructive conversation in the dressing room. A lot of the stuff was grossly exaggerated. And I made no apologies for having those discussions, because those discussions are only there to improve the team. Those discussions are only there to improve the team. And there's no malice intended at all. When we walk out the dressing room, we are as united as we were before that discussion. I need to give the guys a straightforward and honest appraisal, like I do at the end of every day. We debrief every day of international cricket that we play. And I can't sugarcoat it when we didn't think it wasn't good enough. I hate the fact, though, that it comes out in the media.
But why PCB you compromise, and why do you not send home to that players who leave your chit chat with senior guys?
Well, can you tell me who it was? If you tell me who it was, then we can take action. But you won't tell me who the source is, will you?
Pakistan lost 3 formats series. What do you say? Who is responsible? Bowling squad or batting line?
No, I'm not going to. We're a united team. You know, once we start blaming batting lineups or bowling lineups, you split the team. You know, then the team becomes grouped as to bowlers and batters. We take responsibility, every one of us on that tour, for results. Whether you're a bowler, whether you're a batsman, whether you're a coach, whether you're a captain. We're in it together. We're a very, very proud team. And if you could see how gutted and disappointed the players are after every loss, you'd be incredibly proud of them, because it just shows how much it means playing for Pakistan to these players. Our dressing room is a shattered place when we lose a game. We're an incredibly proud team, incredibly proud. We don't like losing. We hate losing. We're there to win, and we're there to win for Pakistan first and foremost. One thing we need to say is sometimes the opposition plays incredibly well. South Africa in the tests completely dominated us in those conditions. And again, I thought the one-day series was touch and go. We had opportunities to win every one of those games. And that's the key areas that we as a team are focusing on. And those are the key areas we as a team are giving our attention to. Is that when a key moment presents itself in a game, we have to have the ability to nail it. And I think that was our problem on the tour. We didn't nail those key moments. So if we learn from that, when those key moments present themselves in larger games, hopefully then we can nail it.
Vicky, if we saw Pakistan test performance after New Zealand and after South Africa, after that, where you rate Azhar Ali and Asad Shafiq in testing, And also, Mohammad Amir's performance, if he is same form, can you continue with him in the World Cup?
Look, he's certainly within the mix for the World Cup without a doubt. So, Mohamed Amir will lead because, you know, I've already answered the question. You know my feelings around Mohamed Amir. As Ali and Asad Shafiq, as I've always said to you, I think they are senior players. They're the guys that will drive our batting forward. To be honest, our Test cricket, we only play our next Test cricket, I think, end of September against Sri Lanka, and I think that's the start of the World Test Championship there. But so we've got to have a look as to where we go with that. But I have not lost any faith in Azhar Ali and Asad Shafiq. I still think they're incredibly gifted players. I still think they've got a hell of a lot to offer Pakistan cricket, provided they're in form, and they're really dedicated professionals. And above all, fantastic blokes who contribute greatly to the Pakistan cricket team.
Mickey Mazhar.
Hey, Maz, yeah.
Yeah, Mickey, there was a game in South Africa where South Africa batsmen hit 11 sixes at Pakistan.
I knew you would ask this question, Maz.
So, do you think that it is a concern going forward in World Cup, and especially with Asif Ali not part of the one-day squad? I mean, who is going to take care of the last power play in one-day cricket?
That's a great question. I think I answered it to you when you sent me those stats the other night. In 2020 cricket, we've won 14 of our last 18 games. So, and we've got to number one in the world through not hitting the amount of sixes that the rest of the world do. So we do it differently because we don't have those players. In one-day cricket, it is something we have to work on. We work on our power hitting every day we go down to the net. When our training session finishes, and you will have seen us, you've been on tour with us, guys go out to the middle, we throw balls at them, we work on their stable positions, we work on their power hitting. It's something that we try and damn hard to get right, Maz. And yes, I know we don't hit as many sixes. And if we haven't got the personnel that can hit as many sixes as other guys, we've got to find other ways to do it. And our running between the wickets, I think, has improved tremendously. I think we're running hard. I think we outran South Africa. We've got to find other ways. Of course, if we can find a power hitter who can do it, hallelujah, that would be fantastic. But we just don't have the personnel. And it was interesting to see Shadab Khan in the last 2020 game. He's worked every day on his tour on that power hitting, and it came to the fore in the last game. But you're right, I mean, it is a concern. We just haven't got those players. All we can do is try and make them better.
Last question.
Coach, my question is about regarding all-rounder. Why Fahim Ashraf is spontaneously selected in Pakistan team after being not performed well either in bowling or batting?
Look, I think Fahim Ashraf is a fantastic cricketer. And we've got to understand that he's a very young cricketer, still finding his way. We're trying to develop a seam bowling all-rounder. I think our best way of winning Test matches is with 5 bowlers, and I've said that unconditionally. I've said that all the time. That's our most attacking style. That's the brand that we want to play to win Test matches. So Fahim Ashraf becomes critical to that. We have to work on Fahim Ashraf's batting though. And the reason, you're going to ask me the next question, the reason why we didn't do it in South Africa, Shadab Khan, for us to play 5 bowlers becomes paramount in that selection. Because Shadab Khan can bat 7 and can be our 5th bowler. And that's no slight on Yasser Shah because we can play both of them with 3 seamers, and that's a hell of a good attack. Fahim is probably not able at this point in time to bat 7 in our Test side because that makes our tail too long. So with Shadab Khan not available for Test 1, we couldn't go down that line. We couldn't go down that brand of cricket. We are trying damn hard with Fahim's batting. Fahim works immensely hard in his game. His bowling I think, has got better and better at times. Towards the back end of the tour, he was iffy. The one thing he did exceptionally well though, when he had clarity around his role, he produced at the death. So we've got to take the confidence that he bowls with at the death to his first couple of overs in a game and give him that type of clarity. I think we'll get the best out of Fahim. I still think Fahim Ashraf is a very, very talented cricketer and one that we can work on going forward.
Last question, please.
Yeah. Mickey, my question consists of two parts.
Yeah.
First, you have done a wonderful job in the Champions Trophy with the three guys, senior guys you have been key, Hafiz, Malik, and Hazard. What do you think, how these three will give you a good benefit in upcoming World Cup, because this is a wonderful and best inning you have to play in a World Cup? And second one, do you think as a professional, your parallel job in a Pakistan cricket board as a head coach and in a PSL as a coach, is a conflict of interest for you to select a team for World Cup?
I'll answer that one first because that's always a bone of contention. It's absolutely, in my opinion, and that's something that we'll talk about after this PSL. I think the chairman spoke about it yesterday. It's in my contract at the moment, and that's the way it is. The second thing is I'm totally professional enough, and I read an article, I think it was yours, actually, on Quick Info this morning, I'm way too professional to let those two things impact on each other. I'm here to do a job for Pakistan cricket. I want the best out of Pakistan cricket. I will select with Enzima and with the selection panel the best possible combination to win the World Cup. I think it allows me an opportunity to work with other players and allows me an opportunity to be able to coalface during the PSL to see any young talent that's out there. So in terms of my conflict in picking teams, absolutely not. I'm way too professional for that. Your first one around the senior players are going to play a massive role for us in the World Cup. A massive role for us in the World Cup. In big tournaments, you need guys that have been there and have done it. So I hope Hafiz and Malik have exceptional World Cups, because if they do, we'll be getting enough runs to put pressure on our opposition. And I'm still of the opinion that during the Champions Trophy, our bowling attack won us that comp, and we have to get that bowling attack up to the mark again, because our batters will complement our bowling attack without a doubt. But Hafiz and Malik are going to be crucial to that for us.
No other retired from ODI.
He did retire. Yes, he did. He's retired from ODI. Yeah, he has retired.
Okay, thank you.